I'm Kevin Smith, director, writer, director of Clerks. But before we jump into this, I'm gonna let Walter talk about the animation. Walt?
The animation got started because I drew a picture and sent it to Kevin out in Canada. He liked it and said that he wanted to have it be the opening of the logo. I knew nothing about animation. I still really don't. I just drew a lot of pictures of clowns and a kid throwing a ball, and we took him to New York to a guy who did know, and that's what he came up with.
Walt's being modest. And actually, to tell you the truth, when the movie was released, some guy wrote to the Daily News complaining, called that a child molesting clown. And in reality, he wasn't. He never really touches that boy. His ass kind of hangs in front of the boy's face. But that's about it. He never really molests the boy. So once again, I'm Kevin Smith, writer, director of Clerks, and we got a room full of people here, people involved with Clerks, some people not involved with Clerks. We'll see if we have any surprise mystery guests. Somehow I don't think so. We're in Minnesota on the set of Mallrats right now, but it's one of our only days down, so we're going to watch Clerks and do some commentary for you, because we're huge Laserdisc fans. Okay, so the first thing we're seeing here is once we get out of the house, I just want to go back real quickly and talk about that dog's ass that you saw. What he was supposed to be doing was drinking out of the toilet, but I don't know if that came across very well. Somebody once blasted me in a review saying that I resort to such cheap jokes as showing a close-up of a dog's ass, so just to clarify that, that's not true. Here we are in the store now. You'll notice that the shutters are closed. In a few seconds, Dante's going to go out and he's going to try to open those shutters. But he can't because we shot most of the movie at night except for this outside stuff like you're seeing right now. So I wrote into the screenplay that the shutters could not be opened, and that it just made it much easier for us because we certainly couldn't afford to rent. What do they call those lights? HMIs? HMIs, you know, we could have flooded the outside into the store with light, but it wouldn't have worked, so we didn't have that much cash. So in this movie, the shutters are closed. So here he comes now, sliding out the garbage can. If you hear this overproduced sound mix because of the last minute, Miramax wanted to open up the sound a bit. You'll see there's gum on those locks. You can't really see. That's why. And it's later explained that there is gum on the locks. But anyway, you're hearing all these little noises and stuff. They were only added mere days before the film was theatrically released. On the festival circuit, we never really had all those sounds. But that killer song by Love Among Freaks has been in this film since the first print of it. I think they always called it simply Clerks. The first time they recorded it was on a 4-track cassette recorder in, I believe, Scott Angley's house. Scott Angley, a friend of mine from high school who wrote the music. But later on, they got to reproduce it in the studio. So this is the version you're hearing now. It's pretty sweet. Now we're going to move into the first of many long vocabulary words that pop up as chapter headings in the film. We'll talk about them later on. First scene here, we got Brian O'Halloran, and Scott Schiaffo. A couple of good actors we found at First Avenue Playhouse in Atlantic College. Here comes DP, Dave Klein, wearing that hat that we all thought was so funny that night. Retrospect doesn't really make sense. Vin's got a comment now.
Just to point out that I was camera operator on this scene since Dave was acting.
I don't know, since I was about 13.
Glory Hound Vin Pereira grabbing the mic to point out one of his many attributes. Okay, the lung that they just threw up on the counter wasn't really a lung at all, but it was a calf's liver?
You've got to be shitting me.
Calf. Yeah, it was a haggis or something like that. Tripe, that's it. And we bought it at the food store, and it came in this kind of net baggy thing. So we just kind of shaped it into what we thought a lung might look like. Took it outside, rubbed it around in the dirt, puts out some cigarette butts in it, and there it is. That's the lung. Never got a close-up of that lung, though. Should have got it, because, of course, it didn't look that good, but, you know, it would have conveyed the impression of a dirty lung. I actually wrote this scene back when I was not a smoker, when I was a staunch advocate of non-smoking. And during production of the film, I actually slowly became a smoker, and now I'm up to 19 packs a day. No, 2 packs a day, maybe 1.5 packs a day. Bro, you got something to say?
Yeah, that lung that we made reeks like hell, and I stick my face nearly back down into it as I read my magazine again. That's when I got a lung full of that lung.
That's a good actor for you. She can't even tell. Although you can see her nostrils kind of flaring. Now here comes the first of what are 4 appearances, used to be 5, of master animator Walt Flanagan. There he is. Walt became our Lon Chaney because anytime we had a role that we didn't fill, put a hat on him and a wig, and there he was.
I love Walt.
And then there he is himself, the little Funkmeister, our little sonic boom with dirt on it. Jay, standing next to yours truly. Two in the background is Kill the Sex Player by Girls Against Boys. Who, Jays? It's just tied back, actually. Didn't you have it shaved on the sides? And it's tied back, and you'll see the hat comes off later on, the shirt comes off. And gotta love that shirt, Doonesbury shirt. Now you'll see in the mirror there, see it in the window? There's Vinny just pulled by on a bike. And it was actually serendipitous he did it. I mean, it wasn't slated to happen. It was in the script that we were supposed to be pointing and talking to somebody. Vinny just happened to arrive at the store while we were filming the scene. It actually kind of worked. Look at me, I don't even look like a real smoker if you watch real closely. Are you a mean drunk or a nice drunk? Yeah. So we swing around the crowd. This used to be one long scene, about 3 minutes long, one take, but it went on and on, so we just kind of cut it and we threw in this coverage of us outside to bridge the gap, smoking a cigar. The fire extinguisher we used, the first time you see it blast in there, that is a real fire extinguisher. But this stuff here, that's just baby powder that we just kept squirting in the air. And everybody was kind of surprised when that thing happened because when it blew, everyone turned around and got a mouthful, Walt? Mouthful of fire extinguisher stuff.
Sulfur.
Yeah.
Fun to spray it though.
Yeah, Vinny actually stood on the freezer and sprayed it. Not only did Vinny shoot that first scene because Dave was in it and couldn't operate, Vinny also shot the fire extinguisher.
Also noticed that was most of our smoker crowd.
Yeah, there's a crowd of 5 there, or 6, and now only 2 leave. Because we filmed the scene, of course, in 2 parts, and second time nobody would come back. That was Walt again. This is a scene that wasn't really in the script. We made it up kind of that night.
Something very rare on a Kevin Smith project.
Yeah.
my head, I'm wearing a beard.
Yeah,
That was wearing my beard.
Walter's actually wearing a beard, one of Brian's theatrical beards.
Yeah.
So we use that to create gray hair, which actually comes across. Walt looks kind of old in that scene. This scene here, actually, in the first cut of the film that played at the IFFM and even at Sundance, Marilyn Ghigliotti playing Veronica walked into the shot and sat down with him, but it just went on, so we kind of cut the beginning and bridged it with that rolling the cigarette and the fingers close up.
Don't you have a hockey game?
It's pretty nice. Between Sundance and the theatrical cut, we took out about 13 minutes.
Thanks.
Brought it down to 90, because comedy should really be between 90 and 100 minutes. This whole now painting thing was the first bit of business I really incorporated or used as a director in rehearsals. You remember that, Brian? I mean, we went over the story once already, but it was the scene kind of just wasn't. It was just laying there. I mean, the dialogue was fine, so the performances were great, but just needed something to make it a little naturalistic, so they weren't looking at each other.
You were lucky that Marilyn had some nail polish in her person. I knew how to paint a nail. Not like I've painted any on myself, mind you.
No, Brian never paints his own nails. So, and there it was. Suddenly he was painting nails behind the counter, which got cited in a lot of reviews. People like that.
Yeah, they touch it.
Realism?
Yeah. Couple hood.
Close up here, we punch in for. Watch the camera moves very slightly to the left. We wouldn't have used it, but we needed that. It was the only close up of the nails we had. This dialogue, I remember the first time I actually heard it in the theater, I was cringing. Because we watched it at the IFFM in New York, the independent feature film market. It was a crowd of about how many people? Yeah, at best. And most of them were with the film.
October of 93.
Yeah, October 93. October 3rd, 93, actually. And I'm listening to this dialogue for the first time, watching it on a big screen at the Angelica Film Center. And I just cringed. It just sounded so gross.
And it wasn't because it was a delivery, might I add.
No, it wasn't the performances. It was just the writing. I was just like, what was I thinking? Get my mind out of the gutter, but sure. Well, yeah, it wasn't even a festival screening. It was a marketplace screening, so buyers come and go. It makes you feel very terrible. At that point, I swore I'd never write filthy dialogue again. I've quickly rescinded on that because the bucks is in filthy dialogue.
I've noticed that most 16 films look rather tightly cropped top and bottom, but Dave really framed this really well, and it just blew up beautifully. And in fact, the 185 print probably looks better than the full frame edition.
Here we go, second appearance of producer Scott Mosier.
Oh, hey, Ronnie.
Scott, why don't you enlighten us as to the differences between scripted Willem and played and performed Willem. But actually, let's hold on one second, because I want to point out to the careful viewer the appearance of Walt Flanagan. At the next take, we come back to Willem. Look in the severe, what is it? Would that be their left or my right? Left-hand quote. Yeah, you just missed it. Walter was the clap boy that day. And he actually snapped a slate and was running out of the frame, and we started shooting. So this was a really hard scene to shoot because Scott was laughing the whole time. But hold on, tell him about Scripted Willem.
The Scripted Willem was more of a college guy, and we actually had a guy, Ed Hapsack's brother, was going to play it, but he didn't want to play it because he didn't want to be known as the guy who ate his own cum. And I had no problem with being the guy that ate his own cum. So, and I didn't exactly look like a college guy, so he sort of turned into a bit of a drug addict, maybe innocent, idiot man-child that he is in the film.
Snowball will jump in it. We'll grab in a second. I just want to point out that this is probably the scene that, if anything, gave us the NC-17. Was the whole 37, you suck 37 dicks conversation. We got an NC-17 originally by the MPAA, and then they reversed it and gave us an R without a single cut, which is really rare, but thank God they did it. But the term snowballing came from a friend of ours, a friend of a friend actually, who described snowballing as you know, getting head and receiving your load shot back in your mouth by whoever gives that head. Snowballing? You know, ardently or just casually. You'll notice Jane Kurtz here, who plays the customer, is bringing up rubber gloves and Vaseline. You have to look real closely to see that. It's one of the cheapest jokes in the film, but we thought it was funny that night. And then her boyfriend, who comes up right after her, Mike Pelican, a friend of mine from the old days, brings up diapers, which wasn't very funny, but it was actually a product placement. Nobody paid us for that product placement. See those shades behind Brian's head? We actually used those outside the door right there to filter the light. We didn't have any gels or anything, so 2 people are outside there holding that up. It was kind of taped and it kept slipping. It was one of the so you could see it shake in the background. Yeah, but right outside the door too. I mean, you can't see them, thank God they still have camera. Vinny and Mrs. Topper, a woman who owns the store, keeping customers away. See, Marilyn didn't really open the door. We cut right there, and then we just... Stan Baranowski, who wouldn't go by his real name. He went by the name Lee Bendick, which was his wife's maiden name. Probably the shame of being involved in a film that had this many cuss words in it. He was a customer of the store. Stan was actually a customer, came in all the time. I thought he gave a great performance.
The last scene had one of the only problems with the lab. The scene with Willem Black, that whole roll came back with a burn right through it when you first shot it, and the whole thing had to be reshot.
Later in the shoot, which is why you'll notice through the film, Brian's beard gets thicker and thinner. You'll find the stuff that we shot first, because his beard, his whole goatee kind of thing is thin, his Van Dyke, if you will. And watch this pretty bad burn cut of the keys going in the garbage.
Forgot your keys.
Yeah, it's the worst. Look at it. See that burn? Not a style choice.
Yeah, getting back to the beard, Kevin had asked me to shave. I had had that goatee to begin with. Had asked me to shave it off 3 days before shooting. So I had shaved it off and coming in for one of the rehearsals, and he looked and went, "Whoa, that's not what I wanted." So they asked me to grow it back and have quick, hair follicles, I guess, and grow it right back.
Betsy Broussard, but let's talk about the first appearance of Randal in the film. This is where the film suddenly becomes a buddy movie. Randal, portrayed by Jeff Anderson. $20? Yeah, Jeff was a friend of mine from high school who started coming to the video store a lot, and I told him about the movie, and I said, "Why don't you pop in for auditions?" So he popped in, and he actually auditioned for the role of Jay. Yeah, you hear Alice in Chains in the background. Thanks to Sony, the kind people at Sony. Yeah, you can pick up that Clerks soundtrack, still on sale. So anyway, he was a friend of mine, and he came in for the auditions. Auditioned as Jay. I was going to play the role of Randal myself. I had written it to play myself. That's why Randal has all the best lines. But, sorry. But, as we got close to production, just couldn't do it. That No Time for Love, Dr. Jones, that comes from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. But, so anyway, once I realized that, I'm not going to be able to play this part and direct and work in the store, started looking for a Randal, and none of the real actors we had seen kind of fit the role, but Jeff had never acted before. It seemed like he kind of fit it. So I sat down, read the whole script with him. Bingo bango, he got it. I think this is where the dialogue in the film probably is at its most stylized and fastest. Just goes back and forth like a kind of like a David Mamet scene of a David Mamet play. David Mamet meets Howard Stern. And actually, some people asked if Jeff was reading his lines, but he's not. He's actually just reading Courier, local paper. But I remember on that clapboard, right, Brian?
Yeah, there were some keywords on that clapboard.
Yeah, we had to throw a few keywords in there, especially for that little speech that Bri has coming up. He has one very long mouthful.
I hit the light and she freaks.
But it's a great bit of business. Like, you got the clapboard, you got the receipts, you got the calculator. It just looks real busy. And look at that. It doesn't look like he's reading at all. That's because Bri's a pro. Very long take. You'll notice no cuts here, man. Back and forth. One of the biggest scenes in the film always gets noticed is the porno list that Randall reels off. And being that the woman here is Vincent's sister-in-law, I think Vincent's got some insight into the scene.
This scene was pretty fun to film. As a matter of fact, the girl is also my niece. But it was amusing to film because I remembered that Randall, Jeff, didn't want to read that list off in front of her. And in fact, his close-up of reading off the porno list was filmed separate from Connie and Ashley in the store. And yet, for reaction shots, when they were filming Connie, she actually had me read the list out loud in front of her and my little niece, who was 3 years old at the time, and she didn't even get it, so.
The one I left out I loved was Ass Blasters in Outer Space. But we never made it into the list there. Now here we come to another great moment in the film. We refer to this as the first strong 45 minutes of the film. Because it's like bang, bang, bang with the jokes. Once the two boys get together, things start to riding fast. 37 is great too. The whole 37 dick sequence. But here we go. The tricky shot here with the cat. Everyone always asked us at the festival screenings, how'd you get the cat to shit on cue? And the typical response was, it's not that difficult. You just gotta beat the shit out of him. But he was actually shitting that cat. First time we popped him in the box, he wouldn't do it.
Are you sure?
And the gentleman you see there standing in front of him is the owner of the First Avenue Playhouse where they had auditioned.
Yeah, we held auditions for Clerks at his playhouse. But that cat did take a dump. And if you listen real closely, if you go back on the sound mix, you can hear that shit hitting the dirt, hitting the cat sand. Give us a little insight into this, man.
I love this scene. I love movies.
It's the best we're gonna get out of him. Recently in the news, there was a case of some guys. What did they do? Those skinheads. And the guy killed one of their parents, and the guy had Berserker written on his forehead. The USA T-shirt he's wearing is a nice touch. If you look at me, I'm really pissed off too because Jason couldn't spit this scene out. Yeah, I wrote the lyrics to Berserker once when we were on our way back from the mall. There's a character that Walter kind of created. He stole a wig from JCPenney off a mannequin and started wearing it around backwards. We were telling everyone he was a Russian metalhead. So, hence Olaf was born. That's beautiful, man. Pringle scene always a big one. Chuck Bickle playing a Bill Murray type guy.
Usually, I just turn the can upside down.
Kind of sounds like Bill Murray's character from Caddyshack a bit. But on the festival circuit, I can't tell you how many times I heard, "That's happened to me so many times." The whole Pringle can on the hand thing. Big scene, man. Star Wars scene.
Love this song.
Yeah, and the song's by Supernova, a song called Chewbacca, which just repeatedly says, "Chewie, what a Wookiee."
Was that written for this?
No, it wasn't. It's just an existing tune. We kind of got into it a little too much, I guess. But this scene right here, it took us about 16, 17, maybe 20 takes to get. Because the guy that plays the roofer kept messing up. And a really great story about that is Jason Mewes was surprisingly drunk the night that we were shooting this. And he was sitting on the floor of the convenience store while we were shooting his coverage when we get to the roofer. And the roofer, we go into our 15th take or something, and Jason just lets out from the floor. He messed up again. And the roofer goes, "Can we get this guy out of here?" And so we had to put Jay in the video store. And later on, the roofer guy freaked Jay out by once Jay came in with a joint behind his ear And the guy, the roofer guy, was like, what the hell are you doing? Jay's like, what? He's like, you know what I am, don't you? And Jay's like, what? And the roofer guy turns to me and he's going, you know what I am, don't you? And I didn't know, so I just started distancing myself from Jason because I thought arrest was coming down. But he's going, I'm a narc, for God's sakes. And Jay like starts walking back and he like starts hiding the joint. He's like, what are you talking about? And the guy revealed that he wasn't really a narc. See, now we notice Jay's shirt is missing. His outfit changes throughout the entire movie. It's kind of a little ode to Animal House here with Jay cramming food in his mouth. And the reason we have actually Jay in there eating food that wasn't scripted was because we couldn't get this in a single take. So we needed some coverage. We needed something to cut to. Which actually makes it more cinematic, I guess. If you'll notice, he runs to the back of the store, which we never really figure out why. I mean, so basically, I guess he's hiding in the freezer. Great scene. But you'll notice, see the outside, we didn't have gels. We didn't have those shades to use from next door, so it looks like a nuclear winter outside. It's bright as hell. But watch Jay real closely in the background. And then on the board in the background, there's a picture of Larry Flynn Boyle and the cast of Seinfeld. Those 4 kind of white dots are the 4 faces of Seinfeld. And above it, picture of Larry Flynn Boyle holding a sheep. Yeah, this is the French poster right here. Walter, second appearance as the Eggman, the immortal Eggman. We actually kind of had Leslie, the makeup chick, gray up his temple, so he's got that whole Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four kind of look going. Yet another case of we just could not get an actor to fill the role, so we just changed Walter's appearance, further living up to his title of Lon Chaney of the 90s. See the egg spinning around? Look at that. That's my favorite part, just a light tap to make it roll. This chick here, that's my sister.
I remember driving in a torrential rainstorm trying to get that jacket and a tie from your house, your mom, because I didn't have anything to wear for that. You wanted somebody to look sort of professional. And it was probably the most fun scene or fun character that I had.
Yeah, right now, this is one of the hardest. Watch, here comes a big gaff continuity. See, there's no sign on the register. There's no, if you plan to shoplift, let us know sign. There's a Greenpeace sticker. And in a second, there is going to be a sign when we cut back. See, there's a sign. It's one of our only continuity errors. Special guest just joined us. Say hello to Jim Jacks, producer of Raising Arizona, Dazed and Confused, and now our new movie, Mallrats. Jim, yell hi to the people in Laserdisc Land. Jim's got the biggest collection of Laserdiscs of anyone I've ever met, and probably in the whole world. You'll notice he's buying paper towels and window washing spray, glass cleaner. So basically, it fits the monologue. Yeah, the scene was written for a woman, but the woman wouldn't play it at the last minute. So once again, the Lon Chaney of the 90s steps up to the plate. Where's my glasses? Those are my glasses. Rise coat. We Waldo'd his hair. Look at that. There's the only nudity in the film. Look at that slight pause when he turns before he runs. Yeah, on the big screen that came out crystal clear. This is one of the first things I ever conceived when I thought about the screenplay. It was kind of like an ode to Spike Lee's She's Gotta Have It, where he does the whole dog sequence where the guys just give those bad one-liners to chicks. I just like the idea of totally separate from the entire film, kind of headshots of these people talking at the camera. And if you'll notice, there's 3 of them, and then there's another 3. They're both talking about disparate groups of people, but they're both the same people. Although this person right here, that's my mom. And if you look really closely, I inherited her thighs. This was one of the last things we shot. Here we go. I never got blasted for that. I really thought somebody would say something about that. Ooh, Navy SEALs joke. Jim, Clerks, thoughts?
Says, well, my first reaction was, I wish the director and producer hadn't been sitting right behind me as I was watching it. So I felt like I'd been introduced to them right before the lights went down, and then they plopped right behind me. No, I was actually very taken with the dialogue and the acting.
Why don't you go back to the video store?
For the amount of money it was made for, it was quite an achievement.
You had to tell him?
And it was an honest opinion.
What did he say?
He said at least he wasn't 36.
I was very taken with that movie.
And he also said that most of them were college guys I've never even seen or met before.
Yeah, well, I told you one of my first reaction was that I thought, gee, let's remake this. But as a as a movie with color and
That rack, there's a couple magazines that aren't or would never be found in Quick Stop. One was Film Threat, one was The Independent. There's a gaff if you look closely. The People magazine cover changes twice during the filming. Once it's with Brandon Lee when he died, and the other is with Punky Brewster, Soleil Moonfry when she got her breasts enlarged or shortened. I don't know. But anyway, that was the cover of People magazine when we were shooting the movie. It's a hell of a commentary, isn't it?
Is anybody talking besides you, Kevin, on this?
Yeah, we've been passing around.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
This was another scene that we cut down severely. We tried to get some words from Jay, but he's still out cold.
So I'm stuck here.
Wasn't this the take that Brian got frustrated and ran out of the store in the middle of the night?
This is roast Brian night. Yeah, this was definitely one of the takes. We could not get this down, and at one point, Brian just in a fit ran outside and just ran up the block, jogged up the block, cleared his head, came back, did the scene. Exactly. Brian turns up again in Mallrats.
It's his brother.
Yeah, as the either brother or cousin of Dante Hicks. But you got to pay to see Mallrats.
Point is, I can't play today.
Jay just woke up from his drunken stupor, so he might be joining us for some commentary. So you'll notice the sound cutting here. It's all loud up there. It's all quiet below. This is what we came to call in sound editing the world above, world below phenomenon. The music's loud when we're on the roof. Below, it's quiet. There's producer Scott Mosier. In his second role, shaved beard. First you'll remember he was Snowball outside the store. And now you'll see him with no beard.
Just a quick note, I am a Ranger fan. I'm not a Penguins fan, by the way. I had no choice.
Now here's Danny, who would not play Snowball, didn't want to be known as the cum eater. And there is Scott playing Willem. And there's Scott playing the angry hockey guy. Scott yelling at Scott, the only special effect in Clerks. Yeah. First draft, this hockey game was in the street. And when Vincent read it, we were actually walking out of the store one night. He was like, you should play it on the roof. And we looked up and we couldn't really see the roof, but we were like, wow, sounds like a good idea. So wrote it on the roof instead. And then when I actually saw the roof, I wished that I kept it in the street because the roof was so damn small. But it wound up being one of the most memorable scenes from Clerks. We did it a few times and he had a different line each time. What'd you think of that? That Dingleberry your favorite?
Maybe.
Perhaps it'd be better if you passed out again. And just stayed passed out for the remainder of the movie. Watch, here we got the whole Warner Brothers music thing popping in again. For the first time. With that duck, man. Could anything be funnier than that duck? Yeah, and the ball did actually get lost. And that whole hockey game thing we repeated for the video. The music video, the solo sound video, can't even tell. Which, if all goes well, is on this Laserdisc. So you can see a repeat of that. The closest thing we'll ever come to a Clerks sequel. And in color. Al Berkowitz played the old man. He did a great job. Played it really ethnic, though, which was kind of weird. And you'll notice here, when the first cut of this film, he goes up and back to the counter about 4 times in the first cut. But now, in this one, I think he only does it. This is the first time. Then he does it 2 more times. And we used, which is probably the worst cutaway in the entire movie, to bridge, to get rid of that third time he came up to the counter, to just go 1, 2, right to 4. And I'll show you that coming up. It's really bad. It's the one thing we hate watching whenever we watch the movie. Because we did this all in one long take, which is pretty nice. And at the end of this take, when Al, as the old man, walks out for the final time, he went off camera, stood next to Walter in the medicine aisle, and started talking and laughing. And we all whipped our heads to look at him because we couldn't believe it. Thank God the mic didn't pick it up. Sticking to the steadfast rule that comedy is repetition. Repetition is comedy. He just keeps coming up. But 3 times was the charm, 4 times was not. Hence we cut out that 3rd time. So here comes that bad cut cover I was talking about. The worst cutaway in film history. That was actually from the hockey scene. It was a cut we used. We didn't have any coverage when we chopped minutes out of the film, so we went to a scene that was actually supposed to be in the hockey scene, where at one point the game stopped and Ed dropped the money off the roof. Jason collected it and then threw up a bag of weed, but it was out of place, and we wound up using it as coverage for this. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but I wish we had a cat cutaway, which we probably did, but we were just too damn lazy to go find it amidst all the cutaway ruins. And then here comes the people found this cutaway coming up really jarring, but I liked it. It was something I kind of got from a John Hughes movie. No, this was great. And we actually, the first time I was working next door in the convenience store. Scott was cutting the movie in the video store. Remember you actually cut this scene? We were trying to do coverage style. The dork. So we had to wind up, go back and cut it back together as the one long take that it is. Yeah, because what happens is in this take that we wound up using in the movie, Jeff flubs his lines, but it works for the scene because it seems like he's crying. I'll point it out when it happens. No camera car there. And I'm in the back holding the mic or the boom, and Dave's holding the camera, swinging back and forth. Here it comes, listen. That little pause there, that's Jeff messing up, but it makes it seem like he's actually getting teary in the scene. You hear a little mic noise here. Little boom noise in there. It's because I wasn't holding the boom very straight.
That was one of the coldest days that we've ever shot. I was freezing.
Yeah, there was some bad wind. And also, we never asked for permission to shoot at this funeral parlor. We just showed up that morning. So yeah, if you look real closely in that upstairs window, you might see some guy looking out because he lives above the funeral parlor. And we never asked to use this thing. We showed up. Some guy with a camera, some guy with this Nagra, and two guys walking up to the door, and then go running out. We did that twice and then left.
Did a little Starsky and Hutch roll over the car there.
That is not a stunt, man. And here comes Ed. Here comes from the back. You see Scott, a woman, and Dave, our DP, whipping a rock. But that woman in the middle is none other than Ed. Ed in drag. Suddenly we go from day to night in the movie, but nobody ever called us on that. This isn't a dolly. We did this 9 times on a dolly and 1 time handheld, and we wound up using the 1 handheld. Yeah, that was the night we actually lost the cat in the woods. Held up production for a good hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah, right before we started filming, the convenience store finally got a lottery machine. So if you look on the door, there's a lottery banner, but yet no lottery machine in evidence because I didn't write it into the script and I didn't want to bother. Plus, we needed all that room on the counter so you could see the guys. Listen to the very haunting and eerie delivery of this line. This one here. Sounds like Boris Karloff. I'll never come in here again. The slight nod. And let's point out that Randal leaves the store. Randal left. And as Vinny pointed out in the first draft of the screenplay, Randal left to go hang out with his girlfriend, go pick her up. And there was a sex scene, I believe, but I cut it out. But since he never mentions he never really mentions girls, it's kind of nebulous as to what his whole sexual preference is. And a lot of people hypothesize that Randal was a big closeted homosexual. That sweet young thing right there, that's Kim Lochran, the girl who I dated all through high school and most of her college career, and she's the kind of the impetus for the 2 characters. She's the one that inspired them, the 2 female characters, Caitlin and Veronica. Little sound gaff there, you hear an S left over from something else. Yeah, the time doesn't really make sense. There's 2 things. The time issue here, because 4 o'clock, I mean, it would have been 6 by the time. It would have been earlier when he sold the cigarettes to the girl, because they were playing hockey around 4 or something. Yes, this is absolutely a law. This comes from... Oh, I don't know. You probably could. You could, as you're very fond of pointing out, Walter, you could contest anything in a court of law. But yeah, that's actually a real statute. I had to call up and get the specs on that statute. This is in a video store that no longer exists. Choice Video, which in the movie was called Big Choice Video. Choice Video's closed now. Yeah, they closed down. Listen to you. What are you, a friggin' commercial for the place? That really great video store in Middletown?
There was an extended scene as well.
Yeah, there was actually a scene that I kind of wrote right before we went into it, but we couldn't do it because the equipment broke down that night. It was going to be Vinny's big line scene. No, the music that was playing, I think we listened to the beginning of a House of Pain song, and then we shut it off just for him to get it. And just to let you know what a big spaz he is, we had to clear the friggin' set the night he was dancing. It's kind of hard to clear a set because we're outside. It's night, right? So, you know, we're about to shoot this dancing thing, and Jay's like, I don't want to do it, moves. I don't want to dance in front of everybody. So everyone had to go hide in the friggin' video store so this child could pull his moves. He was such a prima donna, but in the end it worked. Now in Mallrats, as we shoot Mallrats here, there's another dancing sequence, but he couldn't get away with that. Everybody's got to turn around crap, because there's too many people on the set, so he had to dance in front of everybody. So this right here... Yeah, this is the second scene shot. So if you'll look at Brian's beard, it's kind of thin there as compared to like most of the other places in the film where his beard is really thick. This is the second thing we shot. We did this all in one take, 7 minutes. But look at, I mean, the performance level on the scene is incredible. There's not a flub. We never cut. And they go back and forth. So Lisa here, ironically enough, wound up getting engaged to Jeff, who plays Randall. By the time this disc comes out, no, they won't be married yet, but they're on their way to the altar.
I'm on the verge of
They
graduation.
postponed the wedding.
I want to go to grad school after this, and then I want to start a career.
Yeah, but they met and fell in love on the set of Clerks. Yeah, I mean, what can be said? It's just a great performance. It's one of the, it's the one moment in the scene that I'm probably in craft I'm most proud of, because these guys are just fantastic. But we thought because we got this in one take that we'd get everything in one take, and we were soon to find out that that was wrong. But this is the first night of shooting, and we had about 12 to 15 people crammed in the video store watching this. And this
crew that night.
huge crew, 21 shooting days, $27,575. Well, I raised it from credit cards, and there was some. I sold a comic book collection for some credit that I sold off to friends to get cash. There was a big storm that took away 2 of my cars that I shared with this little dog over here. Do you remember the night you told me, like, Moves, let me take the car. I'm gonna park up top the hill. It's supposed to flood. And I was like, no. and then a flood came and flooded the car out, and then I was kind of left looking like a dork. Well, it was bad at first, but then it was good because I got fat money from the government for those trash cars from the FEMA grant, which went into the budget. So it was good. Yeah, you were right. That was the one time Jason's ever been right. But there's a happy ending because the movie got made. Yeah, Lisa I found at Brookdale Community College. We were still looking for Caitlin, so I stopped in at Brookdale, which is a local community college, sat in on an acting class and just watched one class, and she was in the class and she was really good, so I came up to her afterwards. Said, do you want to be in a movie? And I produced the View Askew company card, which has a clown, you know, the clown from the opening animation on it. And it says, and the card says, oh, here's us dancing again. And the card says, we'll put anything in our mouths. Just kidding, we make films. And here we go. Yeah. Dancing Bob, Dancing Jay. Yeah, if you listen real closely, you hear a cat meowing. Also, you notice the summons is a different piece of paper than what was originally handed to Dante. And you'll notice that Dante tucks his pants into his Doc Martens there. Yeah, I never noticed that. Looks like a goose stepper. See, once again, Lisa's outfit, total testament to the fact that I know nothing about fashion. So this is ironic because these two people here are now engaged. And if you look really closely, he's eating Apple Jacks, drinking Yoo-Hoo, and there's some DC Comics on the counter in front of him.
And as Lisa walks away, he cops to look at her ass.
He does. Look, you can kind of see his eyes move. He's not really dead. Okay, look at that. See that hard-on under the blanket there? The sheet? Well, that's a plunger or a piece of a broom handle that we propped up. So you notice you don't really see the brand of the chip. It's obscured in every shot. Although behind them you see many brands of brand name foods. So I don't know why we felt the need to obscure Doritos when you could see Fiddle Faddle, Orville Redenbacher, Crunch and Munch, Hershey's. I don't know what we were thinking. Yeah, if you'll notice, people keep coming into the store and they ask, "Are you open?" Which is funny because there's a big banner that says they are open. And everyone asks for a pack of cigarettes. No one asks for brand names. We did that because there's that whole non-smoking diatribe in the beginning where they refer to it as the Nazis in the 90s, the manufacturer of cigarettes. So just to stay away from any possible lawsuits, we just figured, hey, it's best not to even mention it, not to mention brand names. Plus, it's just funny that it's in the Clerks universe, people just come in and ask for cigarettes and they get them. My father liked the movie fine, but he never mentioned that line. But he's a big Navy SEALs kind of guy, so we went our separate ways right there. As soon as that Navy SEALs joke popped up, you know, he felt like I had crossed him. Navy SEALs was the hottest renting video in RST Video's history. People love that movie to death. Now watch the continuity errors here. Sometimes the hat's back, sometimes it's more forward, sometimes the shirt's on his shoulder, sometimes it's not. We had a half-hour worth of footage on this scene, which had to be cut into, what, 2.5, 3 minutes? Because Jay was totally stoned that night. Was this the night that he was asleep on the phone? So Scott went to get Jay, and Jay was dead asleep on the floor. And the phone was next to his ear, and somebody was talking the other end going, "Jay? Jay?" And so we had to wake him up to do this scene. Now this scene, you'll notice the makeup in this scene, Jeff looks like a raccoon or a female impersonator. This was the very first scene that we ever shot, and the makeup girl went a little off on him, so he's got a lot of eyeliner there. And making that mess was fun. In the film festivals, people asked, "Did you pay for that food?" And I was always like, "Yeah." Next question. John Pearson, man. There's a few people we should mention as a credits roll, of course. John Pearson, indie guru, helped get us to where we are today. Sold our filming room. Next, Bob Hawk, who discovered it, the IFFM. There's a Bobby Hawk. Two names are the most important names in the independent film industry. If anyone out there thinking about making an independent film, Bob Hawk, John Pearson. And our legal aid, John Sloss, lawyer extraordinaire.